What gets us from one place to the other? What lights up our life, puts the wind in our sails, the warmth in our homes, the chill in the air? You guessed it, energy. Our world hums with the churning, burning, pumping, and whirring of energy. So where does it come from? What fuels our world? And what if it runs out? That very concern has people all over the earth looking for new ways to keep the energy flowing. Welcome to the Energy Video Quiz. We use several types of energy to power our cities, machines, and homes. The most common forms used worldwide come from burning coal, oil, and natural gas. These are called fossil fuels. Fossil fuels lie deep in the earth where they formed over millions of years from the layers of dead plants and animals. That's right, oil's really just a bunch of dead stuff. Exposure to intense pressure and heat over time turn this stuff into a product which we can convert to fuel. The good thing about fossil fuels is that they are so affordable, the cheapest form of energy processed for the industrial world. But there are some drawbacks. Our supply of fossil fuel is finite. Once we've used them all up, they are gone. A dried up oil well does not refill with oil on its own. And a coal mine with no more coal just becomes a cave. That's why we say fossil fuels are non-renewable. In fact, no one's really sure how long our supplies of fossil fuels will last, especially when you consider the world's booming population rate. But guesses range anywhere from 60 to 200 years. The use of fossil fuels also tends to be a dirty business. Burning petroleum, coal, and natural gas causes air pollution and damage to the environment. So looking for alternative sources of energy just makes sense. Today we'll look at 6 kinds of alternative energy. Pay attention because we're going to ask you some questions about them a little later.
Earth's greatest source of energy is the sun. Think of it as a giant nuclear reactor shooting out huge amounts of energy, which makes it perfect for brewing my sun tea.
There are 2 ways we generate electricity using the sun: photovoltaic and solar thermal. Photovoltaic involves collecting the sun's energy and converting it directly into electricity. Solar power plants use large panels made of silicon. The panels are joined together to form arrays. The arrays of panels convert the sunlight straight into electricity. Solar thermal works a bit differently. Instead of silicon panels, mirrors are used to focus the sun's heat. That heat is then used to drive a turbine. The moving turbine generates the electricity. The advantages of solar energy are that it's clean, meaning it causes no pollution, it's quiet, and with every sunrise, renewable. The downside is the cost. Right now it costs more to harness the sun's power than to get energy from fossil fuels. There's also the fickleness of weather to consider. In many places around the world, we have no guarantee of having a sunny day. Clouds could very well overtake the horizon. We don't get sunlight at night. It's an intermittent source of energy not always available when needed. Even so, researchers are improving on solar technology all the time. Today's disadvantages could just as well be tomorrow's solved problems. Solar energy shows great promise for keeping us powered up in the future.
While I get to enjoy a cup of my freshly brewed sun tea, you guys get to answer a few questions.
Question 1. Which of the following are considered fossil fuels? A. Coal, B. Petroleum, C. Natural gas, or D. all of the above. Question 2. Sources of energy that cannot replenish themselves are called A. Endangered, B. Non-recyclable, C. Non-renewable, or D. Unproductive. Question 3. What are the advantages of using solar energy? A. It is clean and renewable. B. It is non-polluting and inexpensive. C. It is non-renewable and intermittent. Or D. It is quiet and non-renewable. Question 4. An energy source that is intermittent is blank available. A. Always, B. Never, C. Sometimes, or D. Consistently priced and... Here are the answers. Question 1. D. Coal, petroleum, and natural gas are all considered fossil fuels. Question 2. C. Sources of energy that cannot replenish themselves are called non-renewable. Question 3. A. Solar energy is clean and renewable. Question 4. C. An energy source that is intermittent is sometimes available.
Using the wind for energy is nothing new. It's all just a matter of capturing enough of the wind's power to create energy, like flying this kite, for example. All right. All right, scratch the kite.
Think of windmills. The Dutch used them for hundreds of years to pump water from lakes and marshes. Or sailboats. The wind has been the timeless companion of sailors. Today, we've learned to use the wind to generate electricity. This is a wind farm near Palm Springs, California. The wind blowing through this valley rotates the blades. The spinning blades power a generator that creates electricity. That is then fed to an electrical power line. An electric company then distributes it to its customers. Like solar energy, wind energy is very clean, giving off no pollution. And it's catching on around the world. Both Mexico and India have harnessed the wind to bring power to remote areas, such as villages located away from big cities. These are wind turbines in Germany, where experts there are working to improve the technology.
Wind energy does have its problems. For one thing, the wind doesn't always blow when it's needed. That's okay if you're trying to fly a kite. But if you're trying to power a city,
well, you can see the potential for problems. No wind, no electricity. This places some limits on where you can put the wind farms. First, as we said, you have to build them in an area where you have strong and consistent winds, or they won't do you much good. Wind farms won't work just anywhere. Another issue is land. As you can see, these wind turbines need a lot of open space because it takes a huge number of them to produce a useful amount of electricity. Wind farms can easily coexist on land used for cattle grazing or farming. But large metropolitan areas with dense populations and buildings would have trouble finding the space needed for large wind farms. Even so, wind stands as one of the fastest growing energy sources in the world. And while it may not work everywhere, it does work well in the right places. Plus, the world isn't going to run out of the sun or wind, making them good sources of alternative energy.
I think I can get this kite in the air this time. While I work on harnessing the power of the wind for this kite, you all answer some questions.
Question 1. True or false? Today's wind turbines pump water from the ground to generate electricity. Question 2. True or false? Wind energy has gained worldwide popularity because wind farms can bring electricity to remote areas. Question 3. What are the advantages of wind energy? A. It is clean, renewable, and inexpensive. B. It is clean and renewable. C. It is easily used anywhere. Or D. It's constantly available. Here are the answers. Question 1. False. Today's wind turbines use wind to generate electricity. Question 2. True. Wind energy has gained worldwide popularity because wind farms can bring electricity to remote areas. Question 3. B. Wind energy is clean and renewable.
Bioenergy comes from biomass. So what is biomass? Well, I'm lying in an example of it. Biomass is made up of plants and the energy they have stored from the sun through photosynthesis. When we use biomass as an energy source, we call it bioenergy. Believe it or not, you've probably seen or used bioenergy many times.
If you have ever roasted a marshmallow over a campfire, you have used bioenergy. Bioenergy can be as simple as burning wood to cook food, or marshmallows as the case may be, or as complicated as creating the fuel ethanol from fermented corn. Many cities create bioenergy from their garbage. As plant and food waste break down, they create a gas called methane. That gas can be pumped out of the landfill and used as an energy source. Bioenergy is fairly cheap to produce and provides nearly 15% of the world's energy supply. Experts are always looking for new ways to use bioenergy. One of the latest forms puts a new twist on an old trick: burning wood. Foresters have learned to use all the parts of the tree to create wood pellets for burning. Materials for the wood pellets come from smaller trees that caretakers have chopped down to help thin out forests. Getting rid of the smaller trees makes the forest healthier while providing a very efficient energy source. The pellets burn much cleaner than wood in your fireplace, and no part of the tree is wasted. Bioenergy offers us ways to use materials that might otherwise be thrown away. But like solar and wind energy, it has disadvantages too. For instance, burning wood creates some air pollution. One way to use bioenergy is by adding them to our fossil fuels. For example, ethanol is added to gasoline to stretch our available gas supply. The best potential for bioenergy lies with using them to complement or stretch our current use of fossil fuels and alternative energy.
Boy, this grass feels good. I feel bioenergyless. So while I catch a quick nap here in this field of biomass, you answer a few questions on bioenergy.
Question 1. What is biomass? A. The amount of decayed plant matter used to create energy. B. Plant materials and the energy stored in them through photosynthesis. C. Deposits of plant and animal matter that can be used to make non-renewable fuel. Or D. The residue left on plants from photosynthesis. Question 2. Bioenergy refers to A. Use of only living plants for energy. B. Using forest products for construction. C. The use of biomass for energy. Or D. The process of thinning forests. Question 3. True or false? Bioenergy already supplies 15% of the world's energy, and it has the potential to supply nearly 100%, replacing fossil fuels. Question 4. Burning wood, A, does not harm the environment because it is a form of bioenergy. B, is a form of bioenergy that can be used to cook food and heat homes. C, is only considered bioenergy if it comes from wood pellets. Or D, creates large amounts of biomass. Here come the answers. Question 1. B. Biomass are plant materials and the energy stored in them through photosynthesis. Question 2. C. Bioenergy refers to the use of biomass for energy. Question 3. False. Bioenergy will not fully replace fossil fuels. Question 4. B. Burning wood is a form of bioenergy that can be used to cook food and heat homes.
Feel the power. Control the ball. All you need is a simple garden hose to experience the power of water in motion. Well, maybe not a hose, but think about waves crashing.
The churning ocean tides, swirling river currents.
Oops, excuse me. Got a little carried away. Anyway, by controlling the motion of water, we can actually create forces strong enough to generate electricity. It's known as hydroelectric power, or hydropower for short.
To capture the water's power, we use dams, such as Hoover Dam on the Nevada-Arizona border. Hoover Dam and others like it hold back the flow of major rivers. The water stored behind the dam is released in controlled amounts. The released water spins the blades of a generator to produce electricity. Transmission lines then carry the power to where it's needed. Hydropower supplies nearly 1/4 of the world's electricity, and for good reason. It has some huge advantages. For one, it can produce power on demand. The flowing water creates electricity in seconds and without burning any fossil fuels. And water is a renewable resource.
That doesn't mean hydropower is perfect. It does have its potential for problems.
Long-term droughts can hurt the energy supply, and despite its cleanliness, there are some environmental concerns. Obstructing the flow of rivers can harm a river's wildlife. Construction of dams can block the migration of fish and flow of sediments, affecting the area's whole ecosystem. The expansion of hydropower is also somewhat limited. Most of the world's largest rivers have already been dammed, so the future of hydropower lies in making existing facilities better, improving the technology, and building smaller-scale dams.
While I use all this hydropower, you all answer some questions.
Question 1. Hydropower is an alternative blank source of energy. A. Clean and renewable. B. Endangered and non-renewable. C. Non-recyclable and polluting. Or D. Unproductive and inefficient. Question 2. Dams create electricity by holding back the flow of rivers and releasing controlled amounts of water to A. Spin the blades of generators. B. Spin wind turbines. C. Power giant furnaces that burn wood pellets. Or D. Transmission lines. Question 3. True or false? One advantage of using hydropower is that it can generate electricity on demand without using fossil fuels. Question 4. Hydropower does not pollute the air, but it can impact the environment by A. Causing droughts. B. Contaminating fish. C. harming area ecosystems, or D, causing landslides? Here come the answers. Question 1. A. Hydropower comes from water, which is an alternative, clean, and renewable source of energy. Question 2. A. Dams create electricity by holding back the flow of rivers and releasing controlled amounts of water to spin the blades of generators. Question 3. True. One advantage of using hydropower is that it can generate electricity on demand without using fossil fuels. Question 4. C. Hydropower does not pollute the air, but it can impact the environment by harming area ecosystems.
Nothing like a little steam to help you relax. Open up the pores. And oh yeah, generate electricity.
Our planet has an incredible amount of heat stored beneath the surface. Hello? Volcanoes and geysers ring a bell? We call it geothermal energy. And, you guessed it, we can use that heat to create electricity. In Northern California, they're doing just that. This is the Geysers Geothermal Facility. Here they pump steam and hot water from giant underground sources. The steam and water are piped to turbines. As the turbines spin, voila, electricity. What's cool is that after the steam and hot water have been used, the facility puts them back where they came from to be used again and again. Right now we can use this energy source to heat homes and businesses, the water for fish farms, and hot springs at fancy spas, and even alligator farms. Geothermal energy is one of the cleanest sources available. These plants generate power without the burning of any type of fuel. Scientists and engineers are working on ways to make it easier and cheaper to explore and drill for geothermal sources.
In the meantime, I highly recommend steam rooms. Now go answer a couple questions.
Question 1. What do geysers and volcanoes have in common? They are sources of A. Geographic energy, B. Geosolar energy, C. Thermonuclear energy, or D. Geothermal energy. Question 2. Why is generating electricity from geothermal sources non-polluting? A. It doesn't burn any type of fuel. B. The steam used cleans the emissions. C. The companies do not follow strict pollution laws. Or D. They spin turbines intermittently. Question 3. True or false? The steam and hot water used to generate electricity at geothermal plants is recyclable. Here come the answers. Question 1. D. Geysers and volcanoes are sources of geothermal energy. Question 2. A. Generating electricity from geothermal sources is non-polluting because it doesn't burn any type of fuel. Question 3. True. The steam and hot water used to generate electricity at geothermal plants is recyclable.
See this H? It stands for hydrogen. We have more hydrogen gas in the universe than any other element.
After all, the sun is a giant ball of hydrogen and helium gases. In fact, Hydrogen is the source of all the energy we get from the sun, so it should come as no surprise we can use it to generate power. There are a few ways to use hydrogen energy. Using a fuel cell, hydrogen can be used to generate electricity. A fuel cell is an electrochemical energy conversion device. Say that 10 times fast. It takes hydrogen and combines it with oxygen to generate electricity. Cars using hydrogen fuel give off steam as exhaust. In other words, no pollution. Hydrogen can also be combined with other fuels, such as natural gas, to make the fuels stretch further and cut down on pollution. NASA scientists are way ahead of the game. They use liquid hydrogen and oxygen to launch space shuttles into orbit, and fuel cells provide the electricity on board the shuttle. But there are some challenges scientists are grappling with when it comes to hydrogen. Hydrogen is always combined with other elements. So to get hydrogen, it has to be extracted from such things as coal, natural gas, or water. Right now, this is a very expensive process, much more costly than using fossil fuels. The other problem is that hydrogen is hard to store and distribute. It's very volatile. Liquid hydrogen, for example, must be stored at an extremely low temperature and high pressures. Still, hydrogen power has enormous potential for providing clean and renewable energy. Research and steady leaps in technology are tackling hydrogen's obstacles. That's why many people say it's the fuel of the future.
Okay, let's answer some questions about hydrogen.
Question 1. Cars running on hydrogen give off blank emissions. A. Steam. B. Hydrogen gas. C. Helium. Or D. Radon. Question 2. True or false? Hydrogen is difficult to use as a fuel source because it's always combined with other elements. Question 3. Hydrogen is a clean and promising energy source. However, A. It will soon be depleted. B. It can give off radiation. C. It is challenging to store and distribute. Or D. It is a rare element. Here come the answers. Question 1. A. Cars running on hydrogen give off steam emissions. Question 2. True. Hydrogen is difficult to use as a fuel source because it's always combined with other elements. Question 3. C. Hydrogen is a clean and promising energy source. However, it is challenging to store and distribute.
The alternative energy sources we've talked about today all hold enormous potential. But as you've probably figured out by now, none of these is likely to provide all the answers.
It may come down to the combination of several power sources to generate electricity. As for me, I prefer geothermal.